Welcome to the Man That Can Project podcast. I'm your host, Lachie Stuart, and today we're going to be talking about alcohol and utilizing it to deal with work stress and why it's probably not a good idea. But for those who are tuning in on YouTube or the podcast, I'm just about to push play on a live stream to the Facebook community. So if you're not in the Facebook community, it's free, jump in it because you might get to hear podcast information early. And for those who are tuned in on the Facebook Live, why I'm wearing the headset is because I'm actually recording this as a podcast. I thought I would give the Facebook group the inside scoop, obviously another bonus of being in the group, and yeah, be good. But let's talk about alcohol and utilizing it as a tool to deal with work stress. And it's something that I've done in the past, and I know a lot of people do, and I still go through moments where I think, there'd be nothing more relaxing right now than a nice cold beer. But I want to talk to you guys from the perspective of being a high performer. So if you watched the Instagram reel that I put up today around participation awards and understanding in life, and this is once again, gents, why a lot of the stuff we talk about is taking ownership for yourself and your actions and the outcomes in your life, because we need to define as individuals and need to define as men, right? Am I doing this to be elite at it, to really rise to the top in what I am choosing to do? Or am I choosing to participate, right? For me, there's so many things in my life where I just want to participate, right? I don't want to win. I don't want to put the effort in. I don't care necessarily about the winning outcome or looking like the best outcome or providing the best result. For me, participation is about various other things. And once again, the ownership and understanding and intention behind that is relative, right? On, I think it's, what is it? Maybe a month away or 3 weeks away, we're doing an event at Functional, the gym that I train out of and work out of, called the Dry Try. And it is a partnered event, and I'm doing it with my fiance Amy, where you do 4 kilometers on the bike erg, 4 kilometers running on the runner there, and 8 kilometers on the bike. And I was like, shit, that'd be fun. And part of me really loves competing and really loves trying to win, but with various other goals that I'm working towards with the track and field, and just time's not allowing me to dedicate to it. I was like, I'm still going to do it because I love the energy within competition, and I think it'd be awesome fun. And I'm actually, like I said, partnering with my fiance, so I think it will be awesome. Well, touch wood, it's going to be fun for us. It might make or break the relationship. No, I think it'll be fun. But I'm going into that experience in my life and attending that event purely to participate, to have fun, right? So I think it's really important to understand where you're at, whether you're participating. This is a big tangent, but bear with me. We're coming back around. We are coming back around. Whereas there's various other things in my life, like at the moment, training for athletics, I want to win. I don't, I'm sacrificing a lot of stuff. I'm investing in a coach, or I already have been, and I'm putting in the hours and making sacrifices in various other things so that I can really perform at my best, right? Because I want to win. So if I don't, I'm going to be disappointed. But I'm also going to get feedback around what I can do better. And I can look at my build up to a race. So I can look at my preparation, how I felt, how I slept, various other things to get better. But both of them will provide stress, right? Everything, or most things in life, provide stress. And obviously a lot of stress or chronic stress is generally probably not a bad fucking thing. And if you have enough stress for long enough, it can lead to higher levels of anxiety, right? Which isn't, for those who've experienced anxiety, it's not fun. Like, it can be really debilitating. So we need to be mindful of that. But then there's people, and I'm bringing this right back around. There is people who turn to alcohol because for most of us, and especially as blokes, the way we've been taught to deal with stress is through drinking. I watch my dad drink to unwind after a big day at work. And you see on commercials, this is how we unwind. Grab yourself a beer, have a conversation, chill out. You see that, and the beer froth over the edge of the mug. All these sorts of things that just get your mouth and your palate watering, like mine is right now talking about it. But now that we know this, right, and if you're one of those people, and I put my hand up, where alcohol is a way to deal with stress, we need to think about, the impacts of alcohol itself. And once again, like I said at the start, guys, we're talking about high performers. So the reason why I went on that tangent around whether you're looking to participate in things and whether you're looking to be the best at what you do, this is really where it's important to be mindful of how you de-stress, right? And the impacts of your actions there, right? So I consider myself a high performer. I consider everyone in our Man That Can Project Facebook group someone who is either already performing at an elite level. A lot of my clients are running huge 7-8 figure businesses. All right. Or they're working towards that. They're wanting to become a high performer in whatever field they're talking about. And I'm not just talking business. It could be they want to be the best fucking performing dad on the planet. And I think that is amazing to set those goals, because our actions and the standards that we have towards that are going to be very different to someone who is a passive father who maybe doesn't engage as much and isn't as present, right? So we need to think about where you're at. But for those who are watching this, who are listening to this, I'm going to assume you're going to continue listening to this episode because you either are a high performer, and that's high performer. My definition is someone who is, elite in what you're doing, or you're striving to be elite at what you're doing. Right? I would say I have high performance habits, but I'm still striving to be elite at what I'm doing. I'm not quite where I want to be, and I don't think I think I'll continue to grow, but in terms of maybe reputation, or I don't know what I'm even actually trying to quantify that against. Doesn't matter. Anyway, back on track. So for those who are high performers, now let's talk about alcohol, right? Alcohol is a depressant, right? It will numb your reactors, your senses, and how you experience things. That's why for me growing up, it was a great tool, right? To help me, I guess, that social lubricant into social settings. I wasn't comfortable talking to people. I got really anxious, and I still do, right? Being around new people, because I have that fear of judgment, criticism, and all of these fireworks go in my head. So, having a few beers and getting out of my own head would help me enjoy that experience a lot more. But what I learned from this was, the more I kept drinking to stay in that zone, I generally, if I got absolutely wankered, I'd carry on like a dickhead. And it wasn't helpful in the long run. So what I needed to do was, rather than using alcohol as a Band-Aid, gents, and this is what it is, for those who are using it to de-stress, it's a Band-Aid, right? There is a reason or a cause for the stress. And when you're using alcohol to go slap that on, let's drink this back, you're not allowing yourself time to sit with the stress and understand what is actually causing it. And if we don't understand what is causing stress in our life, how do we expect to, one, manage it, and two, minimize it, right? People who deal with chronic stress is because they're avoiding it, right? They're a lot of us blokes who have, whether it's high stress work or high stress relationships, high stress family lives, whatever that is, right? You may avoid it through gambling, pornography, even exercise, for example, can be an addiction, right? Can be, but alcohol is a general one that a lot of us grow up believing. So now that we understand that it's a depressant, as a high performer, why would you, one, avoid understanding or gaining the opportunity to understand how you can manage and minimize your stress? Because when you manage and minimize your stress, you're going to be able to cognitively and physically perform at a higher level. The more stress you're carrying, the harder it is to focus, the harder it is to perform at a high level, because it saps your energy, right? You may be walking around 24/7 actually, but you may be walking through life just exhausted all the time because of the internal struggles and the internal stresses. And I'm going to share a few things that I do personally that I think are more of a positive way to manage and deal with stress as opposed to alcohol. But the stress itself is activating your body's fight or flight response, right? In the fight or flight response, so for those who aren't aware, is like, picture 100 years ago, 200 years ago, let's say 500 just to be safe. a bear, you're walking to find some food, and out of nowhere, a drop bear jumps, or doesn't even jump, it just drops out of the tree. And next minute, you're like, that big bear there is looking quite famished and it's looking quite hungry, and I think it's going to eat me. And that's when our fight or flight response kicks in and we run. And for those of you who are in that state for too long, generally you can't eat because your body's not worried about bringing nutrients, bringing stuff into the body. It just wants to get rid of everything so you're as light and nimble and as fast as possible, right? That's why you might get the nervous wheeze or nervous poos when you're in that fight or flight state. And, obviously trying to suppress that with alcohol is allowing you to be more comfortable within a situation. But if you have to keep turning to alcohol to feel more comfortable within certain situations in your life, you're not actually developing and you're not actually learning a new skill with how to take your life to the next level. Because high performers, and Sam Hardy's on this live right now, high performers don't need alcohol to feel comfortable. High performers don't need alcohol to have a good time. High performers don't need alcohol to thrive or to deal with stress. They acknowledge what's there, they learn to manage it, and they find other ways that are more productive and beneficial to them as an individual to achieve what it is that they want to achieve, right? So let's look at, and we'll shift on from alcohol, right? Understanding what it is. For me, when I was getting out of the whole alcohol thing, if I have something of temptation, right, if it's Tim Tams or alcohol, remove it from the house, right? That's got to be the first thing that you do. If you get home, right, you might say to yourself, I might say to myself, everyone says it after a massive hangover. So for me, after my bucks party, nah, not drinking, I'm done for a while. But I still have beers in my fridge. So what happens when you get home from a long day of work and your habit is already cracking a coldie to just sit down and just unwind? I would say when your willpower is at its lowest, you're going to go, oh, I'll start tomorrow. I'll start on Monday. And you don't actually break the cycle. But what would have happened if, once again, the same scenario, after a hard day of work, you're feeling fairly stressed, you get home and there's no beer in the fridge. You go, oh, no beer in the fridge. What am I going to do? Well, one, you can go get beer, but that requires a bit of effort. Hopefully you're fatigued enough to go, I just want to sit here. You might go, I'm going to grab myself a sparkling water. Right? I actually might just meditate. I might read. I might put on my favorite album and just sit out and watch the sunset and just listen to music and just unwind. There's some pretty cool things that you could look at doing, but often go straight over the head of so many of us. And, when we crack that beer, a depressant, what do we do the next day? We wake up maybe feeling a little bit groggy, or for those who don't wake up feeling groggy and maybe you're used to sipping on a few beers every day, I would argue and I would challenge that you're not performing at your best because your body is already tolerating that much alcohol. And we know it's a depressant. Right? So imagine how you would feel if you were to not be used to that. If one beer were to knock you around a little bit, you might be able to have a greater cognitive ability. Your mood may be much more stable. Right? Your focus, your attention, your memory recall, all of these things are huge benefits of minimizing that alcohol. But obviously, once again, why we don't want to utilize it for a way to deal with stress. But some things that I do when I'm stressed, right? I sit in it sometimes. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm perfect. There's literally days where I'll just sit in it, grind my teeth. I'll even go to bed and sleep and grind my teeth, and I'll just be fucking furious until like someone calls me out on it, or there's a pattern interrupt, which might be the weekend comes around. And I go, oh, finally I can breathe. Right. So I'm not going to say I'm perfect with all this. I'm aware of it, but not always perfect. Other things I do, go for a run or even just a walk. Right. Just disconnect. You don't take your phone with you. Just go for a run, go for a walk, and just chill out. Practice breathing. Thirdly, meditate. I will just sit there, or like I said, put on an album or a playlist that you like and just chill out and listen to it and just be with yourself and just unwind that way. You don't need a beer to do that. And finally, talk to a mate or a mentor. Give a mate a call. Like, I guarantee you, having a yarn and a bit of a laugh with your mates is going to take your mind off the stress that was there. But I think all of these strategies, if stress continues to pop up in your life and you can start understanding a recurring pattern, right? It's probably good to start addressing that pattern. And identifying it and wanting to understand it more so that, like I have said earlier, you can manage it or you can minimize it. Because, like I said, you don't want to be highly strung and stressed out all the time. It's not a good thing. Stress can be good, but chronic stress, consistent stress is not ideal for your fucking body, right? So as I mentioned earlier, like the alcohol is how many of us have grown up to, and through whether it's watching your parents or commercials, advertising, just showing you that cracking an ice cold beer or a Canadian Club and Dry and lime, delicious, is a good way to unwind and de-stress. But we got to, as high performers, understand that consistently drinking alcohol is not going to be good for you. It's not a good way to unwind. There's more beneficial and positive things that you can do for your body and your performance moving forward. And as I mentioned, I gave you a few ideas there. Go for a run or walk, meditate, breath work, talk to a mentor, talk to a mate, do these things. And just, they're hard at the start because then, not everyone's conditioned to do that. But the more you practice it, the easier it gets, as with everything. But gents, thank you guys for tuning in. And if you got some value from this, let me know. If you're in the Facebook group, comment below or let me know what other topics you would like discussed or what other guests you would like on the podcast as well. And check out the Strong Men of Value program. Like I said on a post earlier, we had 4 blokes join on Monday. I think we've got about 43 spaces left before it's full up, right? And once you're in, you can stay in, but as soon as you're out and it's full, you're on the waiting list, baby. So get in there. It's for blokes who are wanting to create massive momentum and take their life to the next level. If you're sick of if you're sick of playing mediocre and you want to be a high performer, you want to get on top of your mental well-being and master the 8 areas that we're continually talking about, then that's where you want to be. And you can get a 7-day free trial within the website. Just head over to theman-that-can-project.com/strong men of value. But thank you guys for tuning in. Until next time, we'll see you soon.